Richard Thompson stepped through the grand oak doors of his sprawling mansion, the weight of another long day at the office pressing down on his shoulders. The clock in the foyer chimed softly at 8 o'clock. He paused, listening to the echo fade into silence. But then, from upstairs, came a sound that made him freeze. Laughter, bright, unrestrained laughter, bubbling like a stream in spring. It was his daughter Lily's voice, mixed with another's. Richard's heart skipped a beat. Lily hadn't laughed like that in years. The house stood quiet most evenings, a vast space of polished marble floors and high ceilings that swallowed sounds. Richard, a self-made millionaire in the tech industry, had built his fortune from nothing, but success came at a cost. His wife, Anna, had passed away 5 years ago in a car accident, leaving him alone to raise their only child. Lily, now 12, had been in the car too. The crash left her with severe mobility issues, so she couldn't walk without assistance, relying on a wheelchair and braces. Doctors said she might improve with therapy, but progress was slow. Richard poured money into the best care, hiring specialists and aides, but he struggled to connect with her emotionally. Work consumed him. It was his escape from the grief that lingered like a shadow. He set his briefcase down gently on the entry table, the leather making a soft thud. The air smelled of fresh lemon polish, a scent Sarah, the maid, always left behind after her evening rounds. Sarah Jenkins had been with them for 2 years now, a kind woman in her 40s, with warm brown eyes and a quiet strength. Richard had hired her through an agency, impressed by her references and her gentle demeanor. She handled the household chores, but more importantly, she cared for Lily during the afternoons and evenings when Richard was away. "She's reliable," he often thought, grateful but distant. He paid her well, but their interactions were brief instructions about meals, schedules, and Lily's needs. Tonight, though, something felt different. The laughter upstairs pulled at him like a thread unraveling a tightly wound spool. Richard loosened his tie, feeling the silk slip through his fingers. He glanced at the staircase, wide and curving, lined with family photos from happier times, Anna holding baby Lily, the three of them at the beach, smiles frozen in sunlight. Those days seemed so far away now. Lily spent most of her time in her room or the play area upstairs, reading books or watching shows on her tablet. She was polite, sweet even, but her eyes often held a quiet sadness. Richard treated bedtime stories when he could, awkward hugs, but he felt like a stranger in his own home sometimes. "I'm doing my best," he'd tell himself, but doubt gnawed at him. The laughter came again, softer this time, followed by music. Faint notes of an old jazz tune drifted down, upbeat and lively. Richard's brow furrowed. Lily's room was up there, along with the sitting area where Sarah sometimes helped with homework. What could they be doing? He took a slow breath, the cool air filling his lungs, and started up the stairs. Each step creaked under his weight, a familiar rhythm that usually brought comfort. But now, his mind raced. Was everything okay? Lily didn't laugh often. Her days were filled with physical therapy sessions that left her tired, her small body aching from the effort. Richard pictured her fascia pale cheeks, blue eyes like her mother's, framed by soft brown curls. She deserved more joy. He knew that. As he reached the landing, the music grew clearer. It was coming from the playroom at the end of the hall, the door slightly ajar, spilling warm light into the dim corridor. Richard moved quietly, his polished shoes silent on the carpet. He didn't want to interrupt. Not yet. The laughter bubbled up once more, Lily's high-pitched giggle mingling with Sarah's deeper, hearty chuckle. It was infectious, pulling a reluctant smile to Richard's lips despite his confusion. He paused outside the door, hand hovering over the knob. What if he walked in and shattered the moment? But curiosity won out. He pushed the door open just a crack, peering inside. The sight made him freeze again, his breath catching in his throat. There, in the center of the room, was Sarah, twirling gently with Lily in her arms. Lily wasn't in her wheelchair. Instead, Sarah had lifted her carefully, supporting her weight with strong, steady hands. They were dancing or something like it. Sarah swayed to the rhythm of the music playing from a small speaker on the shelf, her simple uniform skirt swishing softly. Lily's legs dangled, braced but relaxed, her small hands clasped around Sarah's neck. And Lily's fascia, oh, her face was alive with delight. Cheeks flushed pink, eyes sparkling, mouth open in pure, unfiltered joy as she laughed. Sarah was laughing too, her head thrown back slightly, guiding them in slow circles around the room. Richard stood there, unmoving, his mind struggling to process the scene. The playroom was cozy, filled with toys and bookshelves, soft rugs underfoot to cushion any falls. Sunlight from the earlier day had faded, leaving the lamps to cast a golden glow. Puzzles lay scattered on the table, half finished, and Lily's favorite stuffed bear watched from the couch. But all that faded as Richard watched them. Sarah wasn't just a maid in this moment, she was a friend, a companion bringing light to his daughter's world. How had he not seen this before? He felt a pain in his chest, a guilt, mixed with something warmer. Memories flooded him. After Anna's death, Richard had thrown himself into work, building his company into a powerhouse. Board meetings, late nights, travel, it all blurred together. Lily's care was outsourced, therapists, tutors, and Sarah. He provided everything material: the best wheelchair, adaptive toys, a custom ramp in the garden. But emotional closeness, that was harder. He'd catch glimpses of Lily's loneliness, like when she'd stare out the window at neighborhood kids playing. "Daddy, can I go outside?" she'd ask, and he'd promise soon, always soon. Sarah had stepped in quietly, filling gaps he hadn't even acknowledged. The music shifted to a slower melody, and Sarah dipped Lily gently, eliciting another peal of laughter. "See, you're a natural dancer, Miss Lily," Sarah said, her voice warm like honey. Lily beamed. "Again, Sarah." "Again." Richard's hand tightened on the door frame. He should go in, say something, but he lingered, watching. Tension built inside him, a mix of awe and regret. How long had this been happening? Evenings when he was late, perhaps. Sarah wasn't just cleaning, she was creating moments of happiness. Richard felt exposed, like the mansion's walls had peeled back to reveal his shortcomings. Slowly, he pushed the door open wider. The creak gave him away. Sarah turned, her eyes widening in surprise, but she didn't stop swaying. Lily spotted him too. "Daddy," she called, her voice bright. No fear, no hesitation, just excitement. Richard stepped inside, forcing a smile. "What's all this?" he asked, his tone lighter than he felt. Sarah lowered Lily carefully back into her wheelchair, smoothing the girl's dress. "Oh, Mr. Thompson, we didn't hear you come in. Lily and I were just having a little fun." "She loves the music." Lily nodded eagerly. "Sarah says dancing makes everyone happy, even if you can't use your legs much. She holds me, and it's like flying." Richard knelt beside the wheelchair, eye level with his daughter. Her smile was genuine, unshadowed. He reached out, tucking a curl behind her ear. "It sounds wonderful," he said softly. Inside, emotions churned. This was the twist he hadn't expected. Not a crisis, but a revelation. Sarah had seen what he missed. Lily needed joy, not just care. The maid, with her simple ways, had bridged the gap. "I'm sorry if we disturbed you, sir," Sarah said, fidgeting with her apron. Richard shook his head. "No, not at all. In fact, may I join?" The words surprised even him. Sarah's eyes lit up. "Of course." She restarted the music, and Richard stood, offering his hand to Lily. With Sarah's help, they lifted her again, this time into his arms. She was light, fragile yet strong. As they swayed, Lily's laughter filled the room once more. Richard felt tears prick his eyes. This was what mattered, and not the deals, not the money. Over the next few minutes, the tension eased into something peaceful. They danced slowly, the three of them, the room alive with warmth. Richard glanced at Sarah, gratitude swelling. "Thank you," he mouthed. She nodded, understanding. As the song ended, Richard settled Lily back down. "Bedtime soon, kiddo," he said, but she protested mildly. Sarah excused herself to prepare a snack, leaving father and daughter alone. "Did you have fun today?" he asked. Lily nodded. "Sarah makes everything better. She's like a mom sometimes." The words stung, but they were true. Richard hugged her tight. "I'm going to be around more, Lily, I promise." That night, after tucking Lily in, Richard found Sarah in the kitchen, wiping counters. "Sarah, I saw what you did tonight. It's more than your job." She paused, meeting his gaze. "Your daughter is special, Mr. Thompson. She just needs to feel it." He nodded, humbled. Call me Richard. And thank you for everything." In the days that followed, change came gently. Richard cut back on work hours, joining therapy sessions and planning family outings. The mansion felt less empty, filled with music and laughter. He learned to dance with Lily, awkward at first but growing confident. Sarah became more than help, she was family. One evening, as they all sat in the garden watching the sunset, Richard reflected. Wealth had built walls, but simple acts of kindness tore them down. Lily thrived, her smiles brighter, her spirit stronger. And Richard, he found peace in the moments he'd once overlooked. Life's true riches, he realized, weren't in bank accounts but in the bonds we nurture. So, if you're listening, take a moment today to reach out, share a laugh, make a memory. You never know how it might change everything.